Hello everybody, welcome to my latest video. This is something I thought I'd done quite a long time ago, if I'm being honest, and looking back through my video history, it appears that I haven't, at least on this channel. Now this video is going to be on King Arthur: A Knight's Tale, which is a game by Neocore Games, who also made Warhammer 40k Inquisitor Martyr, and anyone who's watched this channel for a while will know that that was one of my favourite games for a very long time. Now Neocore are not known as a AAA studio, because they're not, so I didn't go into this expecting AAA levels of polish, and to be honest I didn't get AAA levels of polish. What I did get was a very functional and somewhat enjoyable game, and I say somewhat enjoyable, I will go into that shortly. Now before I get into any of the actual details, I suppose I should set the genre of this game, or I should set out what the genre of this game is. Now I was hoping it was going to be an ARPG similar to Inquisitor Martyr. Unfortunately that was not to be. This is actually more a tactical RPG in the vein of Rogue Trader, or I suppose very loosely Divinity Original Sin or Baldur's Gate. It's a very similar type of game where you run around using your left stick, but as soon as you get into combat it switches to a tactical turn-based system. Now those games can be very good. They can also be very bad depending on how they're executed, and although I'm not going to go into hellish detail about how the game works and all of the mechanics and all the different menus and screens, I am going to go into a bit of detail about the combat system, because let's face it, that's what people play these sorts of games for. Now to set the scene, this is an alternate version of Arthurian legend. I was about to say alternate reality, but that would require this to be actually real, and there's still debate on that fact. But alternate reality or alternate history or alternate story, regardless of what it is a different version. So in this you play as a resurrected Mordred. Now anyone who knows Arthurian legend knows that Mordred is the supposed son of King Arthur and Lady Morgana, and is seen as a bit of a villain. Now they do start out with this character, Mordred, as obviously having that reputation, but you pick whether you want him to be evil or good. And I say resurrected as well, because I'm not going to spoil too much of it by saying that your character was dead and now he isn't, and that's all I'm going to say on that matter. Now you start out in a crypt, obviously being resurrected, and you have almost a tutorial on how the combat etc. works. Once you finish that, you go into the wider world of Avalon, and inside Avalon you obviously have Camelot. Now Camelot is a rundown ruin in effect, and part of the game is basically building that back up to its former glory, with you as the ruler. Now how you rule is entirely up to you. As I said, you can either be a tyrant or you can be a loved monarch. It depends on you how you want to play the game. Now as with most of these, you have a runaround section, like I say, using the left analog stick, and then you go into tactical overview. Now as you can see from what's on screen, it's not a bad looking game. With all of these isometric games, you have to understand that they're not going to be the best of good looking games, because the viewpoint doesn't allow those tiny little details. What I would say is the leaves blowing in the wind in this particular scene do give the impression of graphical prowess, so at least that's a nice touch. Now as with most of these games, you have various different options in the combat. You have different skills that you can unlock as your character levels, and you have two additional abilities, one of which is Overwatch, where you can select this and your character will basically attack anything which enters any of the Overwatched squares. Now those are shown by a purple icon with an eye in it. Simple as that. The other one is save AP. Now that basically means you save your ability points for the next turn. It allows you to do potentially more actions or even a bigger action depending on the AP cost of the ability. Now, as I say, this is turn-based, so one of the problems with turn-based in general is that you can't defend unless you pick a defense action. That, in essence, means that as soon as you've finished your go, you are open to any sort of attack. They've counteracted this in this game by having armor and vitality and then health. Now, your vitality is the orange part, your health is the green part, and your armor is the little squares above those bars. It does work quite well. Now, Mordred, or Sir Mordred, has got a sword and shield, and that shield allows you to potentially block, but again, that is down to a chance to block. Overall, the combat feels relatively straightforward, relatively nice. There's not quite enough description about what the abilities do for me, but again, that's just a personal choice. I do like to have a little bit more information. It does give that brief overview, but it's quite hard initially, at least, to understand what these things are going to do over time, because you don't have a status icon on the enemies themselves. I say that, you kind of do. So, for instance, the guy that's glowing red next to Sir Mordred, you can see that there was a cracked armor showing vulnerability. What it doesn't say is a percentage or anything like that, and I can't find any way of highlighting the enemy to show that, apart from when you're attacking. It doesn't show what's happening with the enemy, it just shows what sort of health they're going to lose by the attack you're going to do. At least that's how it seems to me. Now, I haven't played that much, so maybe it's just the fact that I'm not really used to this game yet. Now, I have had it since launch. I haven't played as much as I would like to, but this is the type of game that you can kind of just pick up when you're ready, get back into it, and play again. Now, the video that's on screen at the moment, the actual gameplay, is me getting back into the game after about 3 or 4 months without playing it at all. And as you can see, I'm not doing too badly. And that's because it's relatively straightforward, as I say. Now, once you get into the later game stuff where you've got much more going on, so more abilities, more enemies, harder enemies, then potentially jumping back in just for a 10-minute game probably is going to be a lot more difficult. But at the same time, it does give you the time to think, which I think is the important part here. Story-wise, it's all done through these interactable cutscenes. I say cutscenes, they're not really. They're in-game graphics where it just gives you a different camera angle and you have some options for dialogue. Good to see you again. There are interactions depending on who you have in your party though, and you can see that on screen at the moment. So Sir Ector and his son Sir Kay, that's pretty nice, especially if you do have those interactions and they happen without you knowing that they're going to happen. That's even better. Now, we've gone a little bit into the combat. It's, like I say, it is exactly what you would expect from these turn-based games. What I would say is that equipping your characters is relatively difficult because you're not really sure, at least initially, what these different items and artifacts are going to do for you. It gives you a brief overview, but how that actually affects the gameplay is a lot different. So it might say +3 health. What does +3 health mean? Is that a percentage? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it going to improve with higher level items? Don't know. But to be honest, that's similar to every other ARPG out there. You will find something and you will have to see whether it's better by trying it out. Overall, I'm going to say this is a pretty decent game. I wish it was more of an ARPG, that's just because I prefer that genre, but they've done a very good job as far as this tactical roleplay game is. I do think that it could have more polish. I do think that there could be some improvements, one of which is the fact that they could add support for the PlayStation 5 Pro. Now, the gameplay on screen is in quality mode. I did find that the map was a little bit juddery, so the FPS dropped when I was on the map screen. When I dropped that to performance mode, it did improve, and to be honest, I didn't see that much of a noticeable change in graphical output, so it might be worth playing it in performance mode, at least on the PlayStation 5 Pro, which this gameplay was captured on. Overall, I would recommend this game, especially if you're into Arthurian Legend, or if you like tactical turn-based games. Please don't go expecting it to be as good as Baldur's Gate or Divinity Original Sin. This is not Larian Studios, this is Neocore Games. They don't have the sort of pedigree in this type of game, but at the same time it is a very serviceable and relatively fun to play version, so definitely worth your time. If you're expecting an ARPG like Van Helsing, then you will be unfortunately disappointed, because this is a very slow game in comparison. I would say slow burn. It's slow to get going. The combat's slow. Moving around it's relatively slow, I'm going to say, because you're kind of trudging around in armor. You're not going to get that instant gratification of running in and slaying hundreds of monsters. Overall, I do enjoy my time with this game. It's definitely something that I will put more time into. I'm not going to say it's going to be my main game, and it will probably be that I will play it for a few weeks and then I'll stop playing again for a few months and then come back to it later. It does seem that type of game, especially as it, at least at the moment, is single player only. I'm not sure whether I am missing something and there is a PvP or co-op option. If there is, I haven't got to it yet, but I'm pretty certain this is just single player, and because of that, you're not missing out by waiting. I would say if you're going to get this game, it's not going to be a problem if you pay full price, but if you get it on sale, even better. Well guys, I am going to leave the video there. I hope you have enjoyed it and found this informative. If you have, please make sure you click the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you are new here, or if you haven't subscribed previously. And please do make a comment down below. Let me know what you think of the game. Let me know your opinion on this alternate take on the Arthurian Legends. And let me know if you want to see more of this type of video, or which type of videos you would like to see. Any comment, any interaction is very welcome. As always guys, you all take care, and I'll see you in my next video very soon. Bye for now.